Blair.
Yes.
I suspected you might have a question.
Well, actually, I have less of a question and more of a comment. First of all, I've been a stockholder starting with Sigico, I guess, for about 10 years. My holdings are substantial, I will admit. But I have found, ever since I moved to Evansville in 1974, I have found that the local utility has been very responsive to the needs of this community, and I really congratulate that. First of all, the first thing I noticed was when scrubbers were put on the A.B. Brown plant when it wasn't even required. I thought that was a very progressive position to take and appreciate that. Of late, I have been in dialogue with Mr. Ellerbrook and several of his staff, and I have come to appreciate that a great deal because I think that what we're facing now, as he outlined earlier, is close to a crisis in energy. And being a representative of Valley Watch, which is the local environmental group, I really do appreciate having the conversation. I also appreciate the power purchase agreement that you have for the 30 megawatts of wind. I think that was a very progressive, important thing to do, as well as the decoupling in the gas and the rebates that you've offered. Although I think I told you that I thought maybe the rebate should be a little larger if you're going to get homeowners to actually make changes in their homes. I like the idea that you dropped out of the Edwardsport power plant. I think that was a very prudent and conservative position to take, and will pay dividends well into the future for your ratepayers as well as your stockholders. But now comes the Indiana Gasification LLC, and frankly, I was encouraged to hear you not mention that in your outlook. I don't know exactly what that means, but it is my feeling, and the reason I wanted to speak here is I've expressed this to Mr. Ellerbrook, and I want the rest of the board to understand that I think that this is a decision, if it is executed, that will likely take this company and this community at least down the tubes. It is such a high-risk investment. It is something that's relying completely on an untested, unproven technology that's somewhere out in the future in carbon capture and sequestration, and it's not the way to go in a carbon-constrained world at all. Now, on the positive side, some things I'd like to recommend. I certainly, as I said, I appreciate the power purchase agreement for the 30 megawatts of wind, but I think it would be very wise for this company to really consider an equity position in a greater position in wind. I think that Indiana has 40,000 megawatts of wind potential, according to the National Renewable Energy Lab. Right now, we've got 54 megawatts operating in the state. There's a lot of potential. It's less expensive. There's no operating costs to speak of. There's no fuel costs. There's no added health costs as there is in coal and some other fossil fuels. I think it would be great to increase the whole demand-side management thing, including the refurbishment of the summer cyclers program. I was told by somebody servicing my air conditioner that that wasn't even being done anymore. I have no idea if it is or not, but if it's not, it should be reinstituted. If it is continuing to be done, it should be promoted better and get everybody on it, because that is one of the best ways to trim peak needs that there is. Also, when I watched Whirlpool lay off 500 workers a year ago, I wondered, why does that need to be? Why don't they produce more energy efficient refrigerators and do it here in Evansville? And one way that might be boosted is for maybe Vectren and Whirlpool to get together to start producing those energy efficient refrigerators for Vectren customers, that Vectren could provide extremely low interest loans to customers to buy Whirlpool highly Energy Star refrigerators and put people to work here too. The last thing I'd like to mention is I thought it was a great step forward when Evansville went to LED lighting on their stoplights, and I think that the street lights should closely follow and come very quickly. So thanks for listening to me, and it's been a nice annual meeting.
Thanks, John. And let me just make a couple of comments. John and I have had a number of meetings, and we have tried to have a dialogue so that I am hearing firsthand from him what his concerns are, and I appreciate, John, your thoughts today, and I think some very good thoughts. I might also comment that we are very much interested in the wind issue. Obviously, as John points out, as I mentioned earlier, we are committed to that. I do, though, I feel obligated, I guess, to comment on a couple of things. First, and I think John would agree that wind is certainly not the sole solution. And one of the drawbacks to wind that people need, I think, to be conscious of is that if you think about Evansville in August, and you walk out and it's 98 degrees and your air conditioner's blasting away, it's not very breezy. So wind is generally thought to be not what's called not a dispatchable form of energy, which doesn't mean that it's bad or can't be used, but it tends to mean that it needs to be coupled up with something to back it up so that you've got the power there when you need it, so that the cost is not just, because I agree with what John said, the wind as the energy form is obviously free, the capital cost for the turbine is very reasonable, but when you add in that backup source, it's not necessarily less expensive. So I think it plays a role, but I don't think it's an exclusive role. John mentioned the coal gasification project, and I certainly didn't mean to omit that. That's something that we continue to study as a company. What he's referring to is a project that would take Indiana coal and convert it to pipeline quality gas, and we're looking at it. John has, I think, already indicated his point of view, but his point of view is not exclusive. There are those, obviously, with other points of view on that same project, and so we continue to look at it as a company because we certainly feel the sense of obligation to you all as customers as well as shareholders, and we want to make sure that we've got the gas there when you need it,